All right, Arizona Cardinal fans, welcome back to the Red Rain podcast. This is episode 190. So please welcome in your host once again, Walter Mitchell.
Thank you, Kyle Little Rock Ledbetter, sporting his New York Mets hat. That's an interesting call. Are there miracles in store for the Cardinals? I mean, I grew up with the miracle Mets of '69. That was incredible. From worst to first, and in the most incredible way. With a pitcher named Tom Seaver, who was really special.
Yes, he was.
So, but anyway, and the Cardinals are going to need some miracles if they're going to get themselves back into position to be a contender. Right now, they're not. And there's an all-important game coming up a week from tonight, which we will preview once we get past what we want to talk about and focus on are the potential trades that could involve the Cardinals between now and next Tuesday at the trading deadline. So we're going to talk about candidates for the Cardinals, target candidates for them outside the organization. And I want to preface this by saying that last year at the deadline, with the Cardinals being, in first place, my wish list was defensive line help, a middle linebacker, and an edge. And we got the edge, and it was a good deal. Baron Browning, and he's he's a good player for us. Although we really need him and our edge rushers to come on now because they're not getting home, and our interiors are not getting home, and that has to change quickly. But unfortunately, Monti couldn't close a deal on a defensive lineman that really could have helped us defend Chuba Hubbard and Zach Charbonnet and the likes that kicked our ass down the stretch. That didn't happen, plus getting a slobber-knocking linebacker. I wanted Robert Spillane from the Raiders, who's kicking butt in New England now. They signed him as a free agent. He was a guy I was targeting for the Cardinals, and unfortunately we missed out on him. But that didn't happen, and as we know, down the stretch, our defense was really weak up the middle. And I have trading deadlines frustrations. It goes back to Steve Keim. When you're a contender, you have to make those moves to shore up your weak areas in timely fashion, as we're about to see. It's going to be interesting to see what the 49ers do. I bet you they get an edge, and they'll get some other players, maybe another wide receiver. They're going to do something. So you just hold your hats because that's going to come fast and furiously. And the Rams will probably be as active as they always are. They made those two great moves that won them a Super Bowl at the trading deadline with Von Miller and the LBJ, the receiver, LBJ, not LBJ.
Devontae Adams?
No, the receiver who played so well for him. He's been out with ACL tears since, but anyway, he was great for them down the stretch opposite Cooper Kupp. And
Odell Beckham?
Odell Beckham.
Oh, Odell.
Yeah, OBJ. That's
OBJ.
Yeah. OBJ.
I kind of forgot, that he did play so well in that Super Bowl.
Oh, it was huge. Took some of the pressure off of Kupp, and then when Kupp needed to be an MVP, he was. And welcome back to Red Rain Podcast with our resident experts, Sam, the Saguaro High School legend, otherwise known as Since 61. And Sam has two favorite teams in the NFL, the Cardinals and the Broncos. And Sam and I think Kyle were able to watch that Broncos Cowboys game and will help us in our previewing of the Cowboys game when that's coming up. But and then Kyle Little Rock Ledbetter, who's always got a keen sense of what's going on around the league. So what we want to begin with is to talk about Kyle. Can you go to the top of the graphics list, and we'll just go right down the list and knock them out of the park. So we got a number of cool things to talk about, and there's some really cool conversations going on at the moment on social media and whatnot. And we've got here's this one. This morning, after seeing what Jordan Love did against the Steelers, with an epic performance, I just wanted to remind everyone that in the Packers' 27-23 win over the Cardinals in Week 7, Jordan Love 19 for 29, 65%, 179 yards, 1-0 TD interceptions, 93.9 passer rating. Jacoby Brissett, 25 of 36, 69%, 279 yards, 2-0 ratio, 110.8. Tucker Kraft, 5 catches, 58 yards. Tucker Kraft went off last night. And now everyone's saying he's the best tight end in football. And you know what? He is. But not in this game. Trey McBride, 10 catches, 74 yards, 2 TDs. So there. I mean, and what's amazing to me is how Kyler Murray fans look at stuff like this and go, "Oh, you're hating on Kyler." It's nothing about the team. Like Jacoby Brissett comes in and outplays Jordan Love. And if it weren't for faulty scheming that allowed, the Cardinals to go one-on-one on the edges without chipping the most prolific pass edge rusher in the NFL, which ended up amounting to 6 sacks. Maybe we win this game. I mean, we're doing so many other things well, but Jacoby Brissett, let's just remind people, and this is a precursor for talking about who should start on Monday Night Football. And you could probably tell which direction I'm going in. So let's ask my trusted colleagues, if you are the head coach, who are you starting Monday night? Are you starting Brissett, or are you going back to Kyler Murray? Sam.
If Kyler's healthy, you go with Kyler.
Because
it is a pivotal game. It is a pivotal game with respect to the coach's tenure. You're coming off a bye week. This team should come out and play as well as they played all year. Kyler is playing for his job Monday night, and he should get that opportunity if he's healthy.
Okay.
We have, based upon our division's record, we have a 3% chance making the playoffs. With the remaining schedule, that is the toughest in the league. I don't expect this team to finish 500. But on Monday night, we need to see Kyler at his best. We need to see the coaches put him in a position to play his best. And we need the coaches to figure out how to win a football game. I think Monday night tells the whole story of this team's future. Fairly or unfairly.
Yeah. Little Rock.
So I would say, similar to Sam, that if Kyler Murray is healthy, Kyler Murray plays. And I think the reasoning for me is that if you're going to make the switch from Kyler to Jacoby Brissett, that's kind of like a crossing the Rubicon kind of moment where there's not really much of a chance to go back after that. And I don't think Kyler has played poorly enough to merit that so far. I mean, it's a tough situation, obviously, with the injuries, and he wasn't playing great before that, but 68% completion percentage. He's still, above his career average, a 6 touchdown, 3 interception ratio there. I do think Kyler still deserves at least a shot to continue being the quarterback.
Okay, I'm going to be the one dissenting vote because I think we're way right back to where we were in 2021 when Kyler was out. And I'm going to expound on that when we get to the Monday Night Football game rather than take up the time right now because I want to get on to the next piece of business. What's next up on the graphic list?
We've got ourselves a nice little Twitter exchange between you and our guy Ty Gray,
yes,
talking about Gannon losing the team at this point.
Yeah, and will you read what Ty Gray asked?
Yeah, so in response to something you posted, Ty said, "Fair point. Do you think Gannon is losing the team the same way Kingsbury did because of Kyler? They both seem to have given Murray everything he asks for, but still lose." To which you responded, "Ty, the player's frustration with Gannon goes back to his ultra-conservative fourth quarter decision with the Vikings in their 12th game last season. Gannon and Rallis had a whole offseason to do, as JG described, a deep dive in order to make adjustments. Yet, as we have seen monotonously through the last 5 weeks, it's deja vu all over again. One could imagine that the players are also BS that Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon let Klayton Adams leave the organization. There have been reports that both considered promoting Adams to OC, but opted against it. Players count on their coach to give them competitive advantages, and they know when they are being shortchanged."
Yep. What's your reaction to that, Sam?
Well, I think it's spot on. How do you think the offensive line feels?
Right.
The way they've been playing, losing Klayton Adams.
Right.
If they all thought that Klayton Adams is the real OC and really the architect of the running game, which obviously he was,
Yep.
that offensive line isn't very happy.
Yeah. So that was a huge development. This offseason isn't working out from the coaching standpoint. From a player's standpoint, we're not getting a return on the investments that Monti finally made on defense. I mean, we are for 3 quarters, but it doesn't matter if in the fourth quarter you're just a limp biscuit. And like they were in Minnesota at the end of that game, and like they were in Carolina at the end of that game. And this has been a carryover. And here's what bothers me. It feels like nothing was done to correct it, except the false notion that, oh, well, now that we'll have a better pass rush, our soft scheme zones will work. Because we've seen no tangible evidence of there being any different kind of strategy at the end of these games to win. I mean, they're not dialing up blitzes. They're not getting enough pressure. They're not getting enough pressure from 4-man rushes, which we're expecting and hoping we get. And then on the back end, the coverage is just so loose. It's not sticky. It's not tight. It's not schemed up right. You're just giving, and that's why I'm saying every time we play, no matter what quarterback we play, we make him look like an all-star in the fourth quarter, including Cam Ward. We gave him carte blanche to pick us apart in the fourth quarter because we left guys open and we didn't put pressure on them enough. And, that is frustrating. And I think if you're a Cardinals player And you're looking at this, and you're just going like, what the frick? I mean, how are we being coached into this? And I'm surprised that veterans like Buddha and JT and guys who've been around the block, I'm surprised that they're putting up with it and not going in meetings and saying like, let's get after these freaking guys. Let's stick on stick. Let's get helmet on helmet, and let's play them, and let's double team their best players, and let's rush 5 and get pressure on them. Let's see if we can get to the football. But it's not happening. And Gannon said again over the bye week he was going to do a deep dive into what's what they need to improve. Well, they need to be more aggressive in
They have no blitz packages, this team.
And this is what the Philly fans couldn't stand. I mean, it's, again, deja vu all over again. And people are wondering, why are they so hard on Gannon? Well, Gannon he's just so ultra conservative. And, I mean, his career in Philly ended on just the biggest, second half meltdown in Super Bowl history. Not one drive with the team's most talented, with the league's most talented defense. Not one drive did they stop. And people say, oh, well, it was Mahomes, so it's a given. No. Ask Steve Wilkes. Steve Wilkes held Mahomes to 16 regular, in the regular game points. Steve Wilkes. He was making stops and stops and stops. But, and this is what's frustrating here is you have to have a plan that works and not run out the same old trite, predictable scheme every week that every team knows about. Every team knows now you can throw the fade pass against the Cardinals late because they'll either be playing too much cushion or they'll be not playing enough or they're not going to get safety help. In each one of those games, a fade pass has crushed us in the fourth quarter. And the other curious thing to me is you don't put our best cover guy on the best receiver of the other team. I mean, that would seem like a no-brainer. I mean, look at what the Broncos did yesterday to CeeDee Lamb, for example. They shadowed and they were in his grill all day long. And the only guy who really was able to benefit from that was Pickens. But Pickens wasn't going to beat you. It was CeeDee Lamb was going to beat you. And look at how the Broncos dogged CeeDee Lamb with tight coverage the whole game. It was really impressive. But
well, they also have the best defensive player in the league, in my opinion, in Surtain. So he can shadow him. But more importantly, VJ's blitz packages totally frustrated the quarterback, causing 2 ridiculous pass PIs. So when you put pressure on a quarterback, which we do not, we're 28th in the league in blitz rate. Like you said, Walt, we're predictable. Right. They don't have to worry about their quarterback doesn't have to worry about pressure. Yep. Quarterback doesn't have to worry about quarterback hits or sacks. You can go out, go through their passing options and make a play.
Exactly. And and you make a great point because Vance Joseph didn't just say, well, we have the best 4-man pass rush in football, which they do. He said, well, we do have a great pass rush. We're going to make it better. We're going to come after Dak. We're not going to get Dak feeling comfortable and getting in a groove because we know what happens when that happens. He can do like Jordan Love did last night and just get on a consecutive completion streak. They were just going to not let Dak do that in this game, and they didn't. I mean, it was impressive. They really came after him from all angles, and those linebackers were blitzing. But the sticky coverage on the back end was, and if you don't have a Surtain to cover a deep CeeDee Lamb, you bracket him. Play your best guy on him anyway.
That's right.
Give him help. And it's not that hard to understand. Now, I want to make one quick point that I've been thinking about a long time, is that with the common denominator between Steve Keim and Monti Ossenfort is they have looked on while defenses just roll over at the ends of games. And apparently they've done nothing about it. They're not of the football minds that would, say, look, this isn't working. Here's what we need to do. As a GM, you have that prerogative. In fact, you should, because I'm going to turn to Sam because he knows this. Look what the Broncos did after Vance Joseph was laying an egg in his early days in his return as DC to Denver. I mean, what was that 70-point game they had? I mean, at that point, you could have just let him go.
Yeah.
But here's where, smart football guys intervened. Sean Payton and the Broncos front office said, no, it's not going to be like this. And they brought in Jim Leonard, who was the perfect complement to fixing what Vance Joseph was weak at, which was coverage on the back end. And now you've got a dream team back there because Vance can do the things that he does well, and Leonard can apply his knowledge of defensive covers. And now look at them. I mean, they're a legit Super Bowl contender with that defense, and their running game, and and Bo Nix is an efficient, not spectacular, but an efficient guy. If you watched him in that game yesterday, he made some really clutch throws on time. Even on a scramble mode, he found Franklin for a TD over the middle. Franklin was on fire. Here's the other thing the Broncos do. They have really good receivers, but every year they seem to draft another great one.
Yes.
Like the kid Bryant
Yes.
from Illinois, which many of us were kind of looking at as like, whoa, this kid's pretty good. So that's the thing that's frustrating to me is I would like to see us get a GM who can stop the bleeding and intervene and say, here's what we're not doing well, and here's a plan, a roadmap, someone else to bring in. And then it gets back to the fact that, we could turn to our senior advisors for help.
What senior advisors?
Wait, what?
What senior advisors?
What senior advisors? The only senior advisor on the staff is Jonathan Gannon. And he doesn't want anything to do with defense anymore. I mean, how does that happen? So, there's got to be a better, support system, and it's got to start from the from the top, with the GM who's looking at this week after week and saying okay, we're going to give you some help here. And, like the Broncos did with Vance. So, all right, what's next up on the...
Well, next up, we have some questions from the viewers or the listeners or the bloggers. Some people came through with some questions that they wanted us to answer during the old bye week. So here are just a few of them that we pulled from the Red Rain blog. We'll start off with Flash87, who says, it's never too early to talk about the draft. What QBs do you like this year, and what are your top 3 positions that we need to target?
Yeah. Well, I love Ty Simpson, number 1, Alabama. Everybody does now. You're going to have the number 1 pick to get him, I think. But there's a lot of football left, and there's going to be the playoffs. And then Fernando Mendoza of Indiana is on a fast track for the Heisman. He has been spectacular. And did you see the guy's got wheels. I mean, the way he was running the football this past week. Indiana is on fire, and Mendoza is a legitimately great candidate at the top of that draft. And if you saw Sellers from South Carolina this past week, do his best to upset Bama against a really good Bama defense. He did some great things. He's a little raw, but he's also playing behind one of the worst offensive lines in college football, and so he's having to play under duress quite frequently. And he made a number of just jaw-dropping plays on Saturday. And I think he's a major talent. He's going to need some grooming, but and then Sam Levitt. I mean, local kid. He's got the mocks. He's got a package of intangibles and skills that are attractive. And the local, he could be our next Jake the Snake. Although Jake kind of didn't he didn't find his real game till he got to the Broncos. But unfortunately, and we had some really tough, bad teams back when he was, but he did get us to the playoffs, and we did win a playoff game over the Cowboys with Jake the Snake. But, there's that local element. I mean, there's another local kid who undeservingly, in my opinion, is getting benched in New Orleans in Rattler, Spencer Rattler. I mean, he still, I think, holds the Arizona high school passing records out of Phoenix. He played in Phoenix. And as a Phoenix kid, he's someone I think you can look into a little bit. Trade-wise, there's another couple guys trade-wise that I really like. Tanner McKee, the backup in Philly, who played great at the end of the season last year when Hurts was taking a rest. He won his only start. He came in relief of Hurts and played great one game, and he ended up with 4 touchdowns and 0 interceptions and a high QBR. He was at Stanford when Simi Fehoko was there. He wasn't starting yet when Simi was there, but then when he started, so did Michael Wilson and Elijah Higgins. And this kid's 6'6", and he's got such a command. I think he kind of, because their team wasn't that great and it was the COVID years, I think in a different program, Tanner McKee probably would have been a first-round draft pick or second. And he's got a lot of, you'd have to pay the Eagles a price there to get him because the Eagles love him. But also, with him coming up, he's got 1 year left after this on his rookie deal. Maybe they'd be inclined to take a good draft pick for him now. Who knows? Or maybe in the offseason. So, and then another guy that's appealing to me is Trey Lance. He's still young. Harbaugh's doing a great job with him. I think he could be one of those sneaky good reclamation projects if you get him in the building with a guy like Jacoby Brissett, as a mentor as well. And so those are a few of the players I think that would make sense draft wise and maybe trade wise. The free agent class of quarterbacks isn't that stellar this year. So I think the prize one is Daniel Jones, but the Colts are going to do what the Vikings failed to do. They're going to wrap up Jones on a long-term contract. And then the Anthony Richardson's out there. I have this fascination with Richardson because I think he's a much better passer than people think. And at times when he's played, he showed that. And of course he's electric with his legs. But what I really worry about with him is his health. He doesn't seem to be able to be durable enough to play full season. So, on that, I probably would be out on him unless you could just get him off of, they cut him and you can get him to be in your program and see if you could develop him. So, yeah, as far as that, and then the need areas, let me turn to Sam on this. So I think we're going to need to draft a quarterback, regardless of whether we sign somebody else. I think we're going to need to improve that room. I don't know about the kid Slovis all that much to tell you if he's really going to be a factor for us. But he was great early in his career at USC, and then kind of, was up and down in other places. But Sam, if you're Cardinals next year, what other target areas on the team do you see us need, addressing?
I think they need 3 needs: offensive line, and offensive line. There are 2 terrific options who play for Utah, Lomu and Fano.
Yeah.
I think Jonah Williams will be a free agent. We'll see you later.
Yep.
And I think that those 2 should step in and could do a great job. There are also a couple of free agents and maybe some trade candidates they can even pick up right now. Both of them play for, the Browns, and have a experience with our offensive coordinator. And then you've got that kid in Alabama, the guard, Tyler Booker. I think he'd be a terrific guard. So we need to shore up our offensive line. With respect to quarterback, we definitely should look at it and see, and maybe pay attention to how Green Bay gets quarterbacks, because they do a really good job of it.
Yeah.
And we need to start doing that and put a kid on the bench and develop them. But we need a quarterback coach who has the experience and the ability to do that. And frankly, I don't think that guy exists as a Cardinal coach. Yeah. So we want to bring in, and we want to develop quarterbacks, and we want to improve our quarterback play. We need to bring in a couple people who know how to do that and have some success and experience in doing it. That's first and foremost. Correct. What I would do is, if I were calling the shots from the front office of this team.
Right. Yeah, good points. Yep. Kyle, do you see any other needs?
In the offseason, I feel like they should try and address the linebacker position. Yep. I know Akeem Davis-Gaither has had a tremendous season so far this year, and I'd love to have him back. But even so, I think A, they could still make improvements, and B, I don't know if Akeem Davis-Gaither is the long-term solution at the position. I think they eventually will need to draft one, which I know Cardinals fans will probably roll their eyes at hearing them draft another linebacker, but I do think they need to address the position at some point. In terms of the quarterbacks of it all, you guys kind of named the good ones. The only one I'll add is that I'm generally less skeptical to just give up on the quarterback who people thought was the consensus number 1 at the start of the year. So even though Nussmeier has really struggled this year for LSU, I'm not going to say he's going to be a first-round pick anymore, even at this point, but he was the consensus number 1. It was him and Sellers. I think Sellers will still be a first-round pick, but I just wouldn't give up on the person that everyone thought was this consensus NFL ready quarterback. And obviously LSU just fired Brian Kelly. They've had a tumultuous season. So I don't think Nussmeier is going to be picked as high as people thought, but that's a name I'd still just pay attention to. And, if the Cardinals win some of these games down the stretch and they don't have a top draft pick to get one of the 3 or 4 guys, I think taking a flyer on someone like that might be fine.
Right.
Yeah. And you mentioned the quarterback names. I kind of feel like this year you don't need to address it at the trade deadline. You've got Brissett, you've got Slovis. You can go pick up someone off someone else's practice squad if it ever gets to a point where you need to do that. Or I think Kyle Trask might still be available. Like, I don't think anyone picked him up after the Bucks cut him. So you can find quarterbacks out there in a pinch this year. I think you kind of rethink the room next off season more than anything else. So I'd say,
yeah. Kyle McCord is on the practice squad at Philly.
Mm-hmm.
and he was Marvin Harrison's high school quarterback and OSU quarterback, who I thought had a really good season with Marv. He was 11-1, and the stats were really good. And then McCord, lit the world on fire for Syracuse last year, but he didn't make the 53, and he, I don't know if they would promote him. He said, though, something like he had other offers to go to other teams, but he wanted to stay with the Eagles. But I don't know if I don't think he had an offer from the Cardinals, and the attraction of being reunited with Marvin, and especially if Marvin talks to him and says, I'd love to have you here, that could be a draw. So good points. I would say
go sign. You could go sign Klayton Tune. Still, he's on a practice squad. You could just pick him up if you had to.
Yeah, if you're going to add him to the roster, I don't see that happening. But it wouldn't bother me because I like Tune, and I think he's been much maligned, and I think the coaches have done him absolutely zero favors. But that's we can rehash that another time. I do think that Nathan Tune.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I've been real impressed with Mac Jones.
Yeah. Another, retread.
Reclamation project, Shanahan Reclamation project.
He's built for that system.
Yep.
And that's proof of the quarterback guru the Cardinals need. They need a guy who's good with quarterbacks and can develop them. So, and I'm totally on board with you there. By the way, as an aside, I know Arizona State fans will hate to hear this, but it might have felt like a revenge game when Houston knocked him off this weekend for Klayton Tune and Josh Jones, who got, in my opinion, both of them got shafted by the Cardinals big time, and overlooked big time and undercoached big time. So, but anyway, go Houston Cougars. No, I was rooting for ASU, and I was really bummed out that they lost that game because I want to see them go on another playoff run. So don't get me wrong on that. Don't misquote me. I'm just saying that if the thought did cross my mind about former Houston Cougars on the Cardinals, but that has nothing to do with ASU anyway. And I want to double down on what Kyle said about inside linebacker. The hope is that Cody Simon is the Mike that we need. I believe in him, and I think he could be. ADG is signed for he's on a 3-year deal, so he's good. I mean, he's played well. He's been a good complementary player, so we can build off of that. I think he's been a good signing, and and I think that they will get some depth there. The thing I said from the start, and it was my first Red Rain blog article, is Mac Wilson Sr. built to play the mic? And my immediate thought, no, he's just not. Now he's flashed, and he's really good at blitzing. With that, no matter where he plays on the field, he's really good at. But he's had a up and down struggle. Kyle, can you look up his PFF grade? I don't think it's that good. I think it's under 60. Let me see. I think I can pull that up really quickly here. Yeah, I got it. So, yeah, it's 58.2. The only area of his game that's in the green is pass rush. And in fact, he's got the second highest pass rush grade on the team behind Buddha, who's first. Unfortunately for us, and Calais, Sweat and Calais are third and fourth. But,
and they don't use them enough. And they don't use them enough to blitz.
Yeah,
they are blitzing anywhere near at the rate he should be blitzing. Same with Wilson. Again, there's no blitz package on this team.
I think you're better off blitzing Wilson than having him in coverage.
Right.
So, Although he's made a couple good plays in coverage, I've been pleasantly surprised. But it comes down to today's NFL. You have to have the speed to compete at that position because you got to be able to cover the wheel route of a running back. And for years, the Cardinals have had middle linebackers that are too slow. Like Jordan Hicks could never get to the wheel route. And Shanahan and McVay were exposing us left and right on that. And the coaches, even on third down, sure passing situations, would keep Hicks on the field. And he just wasn't made to order for that. But you really need, that's the dilemma about linebackers today, is you need guys who are rangy, fast, but also step up and hit you slobber knockers between the tackles. And and Mac also is a little shaky on that. I mean, his run defense grade is 51.1, and his tackling grade is 50.6. That's really tough. He's missed 9 tackles out of total of 40. That's a 14.5 missed tackle rate. You need a guy who's more, consistent than that, unfortunately. But I love the player. I love the leadership. I love his aggressiveness. So I think there's a niche role for him, for sure, the way the Patriots had him. And I was really excited when we signed him. But I, from the start, thought he's a better edge player or off the ball guy who you send off blitzes from the weak linebacker position like they did last year than from a Mike. Than having all the responsibilities of Mike. And they don't take him off the field. That's the other thing with these defensive coaches is their green dot guys stay on the field the whole time, which is why I've been arguing from the start, why not give the green dot to Buddha, a guy you don't want to take off the field. If you're going to blitz him or play him underneath in coverage, or play a man-to-man on someone, a good matchup for him. You're not taking Buddha off the field. Why not make him the guy? So that you can sub in at linebacker. And, I don't think Owen Papo's played a snap this year. Yeah. And he is way better in coverage than Mac. Way. Of course, Papo ran a 4.38. Ridiculous at the combine. I mean, blazing fast for a linebacker. So you can take advantage of that. And he was at our best coverage game of linebackers last year. He was in the 70s. But, mix and match like I think that they should. All right. So let's go back. What was Maddie's?
Oh, T. Maddie's question was in line with Flash 87, is kind of a piggyback. Who do you see as the potential candidates the Cardinals should look at for head coach, offensive coordinator, and defensive coordinator?
Yeah, Sam and I discussed that. Sam, tell Maddie what we decided.
There's going to be a lot of changes and a lot of moving parts and a lot of people available between now and the end of the season. And I think we should probably hold off and see who's available. I mean, last week, Kevin Stefanski was on the hot seat. This week, he's not. So with that kind of all those balls in the air, so to speak, we should probably hold off a little bit. I do think that we're going to have several coaches on our staff that are going to be elsewhere by the end of the year, and we can talk about that too later on.
Yes. So, Maddie, we'll use a timeout here and get back to this in a future show. We're compiling lists. I've seen Kyle's Little Rock's list. He's got a spreadsheet going on that's that's awesome.
Yes.
We're planning it. We've got, we got guys in mind, but also we don't want to jump the gun and do this prematurely. So it's on our minds, and when it becomes clear who might be available and who, we can narrow in on, we're going to do that. So thank you for that question, and stay tuned because we will address it also in articles. Let's go to NS.
I was going to say the hood of the car is smoking, but it is not on fire yet.
What an analogy.
Yeah.
The check engine light's on, though.
Yeah.
Well, we're past the check engine light. Now it's like there's like 4 lights up on the board right now.
Wait, it's a loose gas cap. All right.
The check engine light, and there's liquid leaking out the bottom. We don't know what, but
it's leaking oil, all right.
Or coolant. We don't know. We're gonna find out.
Man. All right. NS card.
NS Cards question. Having seen the Cardinals, well, I guess it's a 2-parter. Having seen the Cardinals play very well at times, and with every game coming down to the wire, we are currently 2-5. Knowing that a bounce here or there, or holding the ball for another 8 to 10 inches before you let it go, Amari DiMercato, could be the difference between our record being anywhere from 7-0 to 0-7. I always wonder about if things played out differently. If the Cardinals were 5-2 today, how would your opinion of the coaching staff differ?
All right, let's pause there because this is a 2-part question. All right, I see your point, and it is frustrating. I mean, they've been in every game, but the pattern is just so monotonously consistent that you can't go like, oh, we're a couple bounces away. Even though the DiMercato one is an obvious one, the rabbit interception that ends up in that fluky game was just ridiculous. But at the same time, you have to look at what the fourth quarter plans have been, and that's a failing plan. And we've seen it time and time and time again. It's not gonna change until the coaches change the plan. I mean, if you thought the plan was wise, but are just getting bad bounces, I get it. But seeing as, the plan hasn't been good, and we're not a finishing team. But, the karma. And we're going to get to your karma question. Go ahead. Read the karma question. Kyle.
All right, let me get it back up here. Here we go. What would need to happen in the next 5 to 10 weeks for you to think this regime and coaching staff deserves another year? What moves would the front office have to make or achieve for you to believe we need to stay the course? Does karma and momentum really ever play a role in a football game?
Well, for the next 10 weeks, it's got to be a total reset. We have to see a totally different plan. Fourth quarter plan, to put away games. This coaching staff needs to teach this team how to finish. And I'll get to the karma of that. If you come into an organization willing to tank games, where losing is okay, and you're not finishing out close games because it's described as the perfect loss. The karma of now losing the games you want to win at the end of games. That you've taught your team how not to win carries over into not helping them win when you need them to win. And we needed, post-bye last weekend as card last year. We go 2-5 in the most meaningful games of the season, and have the same issues every week. What did we start in the meaningful games this year? 2-5 with the same plans, especially on defense, that aren't working, that aren't closing out games, aren't teaching people how to finish. So, I mean, karma to me is always there. Karma is another word for consequences, in my opinion. In other words, if you break NFL rules, are there consequences? I say yes. Not only from the league, but from from the kind of bad vibes you get from that kind of thing. And then the backlash of some Cardinals fans still don't get this. If we were in the Super Bowl, okay, and word came out after that our defensive coordinator broke NFL rules during the planning weeks of the Super Bowl and talked to another team and had agreed to, interview for their jobs, we would be absolutely and rightfully bullshit. I mean, we were upset. I was when the one Super Bowl we were in. What's the offensive line coach from the Redskins? Russ Grimm. Our offensive line coach during the halftime of the Super Bowl is eating a hot dog watching Bruce Springsteen. I mean, what the frick? Are you kidding me? So, I mean, when Bill Parcells said, when someone shows you who he is, believe him. I'm sorry. But that guy quit on his own team during Super Bowl weeks. He did. There's no other way to show. You can't go, oh, well, everyone's entitled. No, the rules tell you otherwise. Why are the rules in that place in the first place? Why are they the rules? It only makes sense. You're not supposed to think about anything else during those weeks. Because why should you? It's the Super Bowl. It's a chance for a ring. So, is there consequences for Gannon on that? With the football gods? I mean, I don't know how he'll ever win in the NFL if you're talking about football gods. The other thing is, for any coach who'd ever want to tank and accept it, week after week in season 1 with Gannon, he was cheerful as a kitten after every game. After his team put it out on the line and tried to bust their asses, and people were saying, "Oh, Gannon's going to be our Dan Campbell." He was totally Dan Campbell in any scenario when his players lose and he sees that pain in their faces. He can't stand that. It drives him to tears because he was a player, He was a good player. And he knows what it's like to put your ass out there week after week and take that pounding. And to ask grown men who play football to go out there and it's going to be okay if you lose is just the worst possible, has the least integrity of anything a coach can do. If you tell your players, well, we're going to not be able to win this year to get ahead next year. Bullshit. You can't expect your players to lose football games. And so, yeah. I mean, if that's not karma, look what's happening to Gannon now. Everyone thought he'd be Dan Campbell. He's not. He's not even close. And he's out of touch. Yeah, he's a schmoozer with the players, and they love him because he's got an open door and he maximizes their time, even gives them time off every now and then that most teams don't give players. So they love him for that. But if you really care about your players, you're going to put them in the best positions to succeed. And if you go back to his opening presser, he vowed to do 4 things. He vowed to play smart. Well, are we coaching smart? I mean, you got to coach smart to play smart. Is this what you would say is a really smart team? I don't see it. I mean, number 2 is play violent. His big word. Are we, just like, the most get after you violent football team you've seen in a while? No. Particularly in the fourth quarter, where we're soft as hell, cream cheese. So no, that doesn't work. And 3 was maximize the strengths of the players' talents. I mean, his big guy was Kyler Murray. Are we maximizing his talents? I mean, how do we put him in a system that is counterintuitive for what Kyler Murray should be able to, be in to maximize his talents? It's just counterintuitive. I mean, and then, 4 was, quote, don't get it twisted, we're going to win games. What's the record now? 14 and 27? What's that winning percentage? Alexa, what's 14 divided by 41?
14 divided by 41 is approximately 0.3415.
That's a 0.3. That's winning 1 out of every 4 games. Yeah. 0.3 winning percentage. So
if I had to look it up, I would guess that that's probably lower than the all-time Cardinals average winning percentage. So this is even a below average by Cardinals team standards run.
Right. And let's just go some steps further. Kyler Murray. How about the karma about him? I mean, he made the 2022 season all about him and his bag. We had a playoff caliber roster with J.J. Watt coming back, who came to Arizona because he said he believed Kyler could take us places. And he sacrificed, that Murray, with all those shenanigans, and with the implication they really wanted out of Arizona. Not just the bag, but he wanted out, or one way or the other, that took that whole team down. And then here's the aftermath. So what happens to Kyler after he gets his bag? How's that helped him, with all that, maneuvering he did and all the scrubbing of socials and the cryptic messages and and then the showing up after he gets the bag in an Easy Money t-shirt, and then proceeding to be what the players called a monster in the building the entire year, who would show up late to meetings with his buddy Hollywood. How's that working out? How did that work out karma-wise for Kyler Murray? And here's the thing. If the football gods were conspiring, they would say, all right, we just saw the best of Kyler Murray. He's never going to play like that again. And he hasn't. He hasn't even come close to what he was doing in 2021 prior to the Green Bay game. I mean, it's karma. It's karma. I mean, because, and here's the other thing, is to this day, and I've asked guys I know who are friends with Cliff Kingsbury, has Kyler Murray ever thanked Cliff Kingsbury for what Cliff did for him in Arizona? The answer is a unanimous no. When the Cardinals prepared for the Commanders last year, during that week, Kyler was just so, I mean, Cliff was like, oh, I really enjoyed Kyler. And Kyler was like, so above Cliff. He was telling everyone, like, I was telling Cliff I should have been under center more. I was doing this. And, he's behind the fans' excuses that Cliff ruined Kyler. When if you look at Cliff's career, what quarterbacks has he ruined? Ever. I mean, he's got incredible quarterbacking play. And then you have the scenario where he's dissing on Cliff and hiding behind that veneer of like, Cliff ruined me. It was Cliff's problem. Calm the fuck down, Cliff. That he exposed on national TV. And Cliff handled that with such aplomb. I mean, I got to give him, if that were BA, BA might have thrown him into the stands. I mean, Cliff just tried to take that in stride. He tried to work with it. But Cliff's biggest mistake was trying to discipline Kyler. He would have nothing of it. So he didn't want the coach, and he didn't respect Cliff. The worst part is he didn't respect J.J. Watt, who was on his team, who came to Arizona thinking Kyler could do things. And then all the offensive players and the OTAs missing. I mean, the karma of all this is devastating. I don't know if it had something to do with the knee injury. Maybe. But then I do know it had something to do with losing to the Washington Commanders with their rookie NFL, offensive rookie of the year, 42-14 at home. After you've been dissing Cliff all week. That's karma. That is karma. And I've been saying for 2 years previous to that, Kyler should have come clean with Cliff. Say, no, I thank Cliff. I might not have been the first pick in that draft. Might have been Nick Bosa. But because of Cliff, I had a, amazing rookie season. Didn't start off great, but Cliff stuck with me. And, and then Cliff, in year 3, we were crescendoing. And then, shit happened. I got hurt. But thanks to Cliff for what he did for me. But you're never going to get that out of him. Because Kyler Murray's, I think, Achilles heel is lack of respect for others. He's always thought of himself as smarter, better, has a better idea. He's always got his head above everybody else. And I think the karma of that is you coming down hard. Just saying. And then, let's talk. Let me give the other guys a chance to talk in on this. Now, I think they might disagree, but Kyle, let's start with you. Is there karma in football?
Absolutely. Sorry, I choked a little bit there. That's my bad. No, I absolutely think there's karma in football and momentum, going back to the question too. I think we had a big conversation about momentum. What was that? After the Titans game? They've blown so many of these. I can't remember which one it was, but after the Titans game, we had that big conversation about momentum and how teams end up kind of going, it's the old Patriots mantra kind of, and this is the easiest way to sum it up, is like, if you don't make mistakes, the other team will make mistakes. And that's kind of the aorta of momentum in a way. But I mean, to your point about the karma in football, I mean, karma kind of comes around for everyone. I think that's just generally a life principle thing, but and you've obviously been hard on Kyler Murray over the years, and not as hard as some other Cardinals fans, because we've given other chances and things of those sorts. Right. But now it's all coming to a head where, the contract is running out. It's possible that they can move on from him.
Right.
The fact they've had another run with Jacoby Brissett playing better at quarterback in the same ways that you've outlined Colt McCoy playing better at quarterback at times. I just think I don't know if it's karma coming back around for Kyler Murray in a sense, but I do feel like it's karma just for the team getting to that point where you've invested so much time, so much energy, in their case, millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in resources into this vision of your team. And now it's kind of coming to the realization that it's not going to go the way that you want it to. And I understand that that's a really tough thing to kind of take, especially for Cardinal fans that have invested so much time and energy into this thing over the last, 7 years now. And to have, when we first started doing the show, to have that 7-game win streak right off the bat, to now have nothing even resembling it at this point. Like, I was thinking about this the other day. They were the Colts. Like what the Colts are right now, where people are looking at them as a Super Bowl contender and the number one offense in the NFL. The Cardinals had that. It was the best that this ever felt. And I think coming to the realization that it's not ever going to get back to that place, even though some people had resigned themselves to it when they fired Cliff Kingsbury. I think now that the sudden realization that it's not ever going to get back to that place is hard to take, in a sense, and call it karma, call it, the what goes around comes around situation. But I just think that the reality that you're not going to meet your goals that you set out on is always difficult, especially when, unlike the Cliff Kingsbury run and the first time around, you didn't have any success to point to. I mean, for better or for worse, the Cardinals should have been in the playoffs that first year where the Bears got the 7 seed at the very end and Kyler got hurt. Should have been in the playoffs that year. Should have won the NFC West the year after that. But they still had success. Even if they didn't meet those goals, relatively speaking, they had a lot of success in that first run, and they haven't gotten any of that over the last few years.
Right. And with Cliff, look at the karma for Cliff. Who was the hardest working employee in the Cardinals organization while Cliff was here?
Yeah.
I mean, even Bidwell, while scapegoating Cliff, had to concede he's the hardest working head coach I've ever seen. I mean, he had to give that up because, and that's why people say Cliff lost the locker room. Cliff didn't lose the locker room. Kyler lost the locker room. It was already split. And that's why I said at the time, and you know this, Kyle, I said at the time, if Bidwell caves and gives Kyler his bag, that's going to set back the organization for years. Because you can't, when the locker room's divided and you reward the guy that's dividing you with $230 million, think of what the import of that does to a locker room and the lack of trust that comes between, the ownership and the players.
Well, and we said it at the time too. What's going to happen now is that the players the players that you've divided are going to go out, right?
Correct.
It's the idea that you're going to completely turn over the roster to the point where, outside of Budda Baker and James Conner and probably a couple others, like Kyler is the tenured vet now. He's the one who's been around longer than all of those guys.
Right. And so for Cliff, he's exiled, embarrassed, scapegoated, winds back and stigmatized with Cliff can't coach past, November or past October. Well, instead he goes in his second crack of coaching a rookie, he gets, the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. And then down the stretch, when everyone had said, "Oh, here we go, Cliff will lose games," no, 7-1 down the stretch, right? With including playoff wins over the Bucks and over the Lions. Talking about Dan Campbell, a berth into the NFC Championship game. And then, they lose to the Eagles, but that's a 14-win season. So Cliff, with the Commanders' help, and let's call a spade a spade. The offense carried that team. I mean, Dan Quinn didn't have yet the kind of defensive personnel that would allow him to dominate games, although he's a competitive coach and he did a great job with what he had, like with Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner. But it was the offense putting up huge points week after week with a rookie quarterback. That's 14 games. How many, and now this is year 3, how many wins do the Cardinals have since Cliff left? 14 games. 14 wins, right?
Yeah.
It's karma.
Yes, it is.
I'm telling you this right now. Go ahead, Sam. Jump in on that.
Well, 42-14 when they played Cardinals at home last year. That's karma. Karma to me is the principle of cause and effect. It's where one's actions, intentions, and deeds influences their future. So you want to talk karma? Let's talk about Bidwell karma.
Oof.
There you go. Isn't that the karma that controls the failure?
Oh.
The systemic, ongoing failure of this team? Karma for being one of the worst, according to his players, one of the worst owners in the NFL.
Right.
And I don't mean one season. I don't mean 2 seasons. I mean every season.
Right.
So you have the karma of Bidwell. You have a father and son ownership that has dismissed players, never recognized the loyalty of players, never garnered loyalty from players. And I mean, there are exceptions, but this is a team that pitches pennies over improvement, pitches pennies to be nothing better than mediocre. That's karma to me. That's where you've got the wrong attitude, the wrong actions, the wrong decisions, the wrong personnel over and over again. And that's the Arizona Cardinal, and that's the St. Louis Cardinal, and that's the Chicago Cardinal karma. It's just plain bad.
Yep. It's a carryover. And the only way out of that, Sam, is for Bidwell to get a competent GM and coaching staff and back the frick out of there and don't involve themselves in any major decisions.
He shouldn't even involve himself in hiring the next staff. He needs to find a president of football operations who hires everybody underneath him.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And that person needs to come in, and he needs to understand, and Bidwell needs to understand that Bidwell has no voice.
Yes.
None.
I mean, I'll give you a recent example. As much as we love Marvin Harrison, he was the 4th best player in that draft.
Not
even
knows?
In hindsight, probably not. I mean, you said it at the time, but I would rather have Malik Neighbors and Brock Bowers now.
Right.
Who's going to develop that kid?
Right. Exactly. There's the other part of this is that, well, here's how that went down. And I know from someone inside the building is that the coaches did not want they were not, they wanted another player over Marvin. And made that vocal. Bidwell's, and what I heard was Bidwell said, no, we got to go with Marvin because the fans have been tanking for Marvin for a year and a half. We can't let the fans down. They're going to hue and cry that we didn't take Marvin. And probably the better, in my opinion, the guy I wanted, Brock Bowers, was a better system fit. If you really wanted to help Petzing, and that would have been a seamless transition. There wouldn't have been all growing pains and everything. Seamless transition. Or how about, since you passed on Will Anderson Jr., which, again, I don't know of any team with a defensive-minded head coach who would ever, unless they're drafting a quarterback, pass on a talent like that on defense, who is immediate game changer on your team. Who's got the number 1 defense in the league right now? Houston Texans.
Yeah. With
a defensive-minded head coach who made that trade to get him.
Yeah.
All right. So, and then they were crushing drafts. But here's the thing, and there's the karma of that one with Monti going viral with that whole trade debacle, and Phoenix Cardinals coming out the next day. Cardinals, own Texans in draft trade, fleece Texans. It's stuff like that draws the attention of the football guys, and they're like looking down on this and going like, "Oh, you want to brag about that? I'll give you one other example. I think I was the only person trying to talk reason with people on the Hopkins trade. I said, if he winds up treating us like he treated the Texans, this trade's going to suck. And DeAndre Hopkins, I think, is one of the worst trades the Cardinals ever made. He was awful for this franchise. Yeah, he had the Hail Mary and everything. Okay, the Hail Mary. But he was so selfish. He played only on his own terms. He took Wednesdays off. He required a mega $1 million contract that he wasn't going to get after taking the Texans money and doing the worst thing that an organization has to have happen to you is that he wants it ripped up after 2 years. I mean, and now he's saying, if you don't trade me. And how did it end up? You know what the biggest crock of shit I've ever seen is? Recruiting J.J. Watt, who is the antithesis of Hopkins, by saying, let's finish what we started. How did that end? That ended with J.J. Watt, by the way, putting one together, maybe the greatest defensive season I've ever seen from a Cardinal. I mean, the dude, and this is last year, coming back from the fact that he even got to the playoffs, rehabbing a totally reconstructed shoulder, I mean, was like Herculean to begin with. The next day after the Rams debacle, he said, I'm going reporting to work. I'm getting ready for next year already. And boy, did he get ready for next year. Meanwhile, half his team is taken off of OTAs. His quarterback is scrubbing his socials. He's just going back to work. And you know what his little cadre was? He had Trey McBride. He had Zach Allen. He had, guys who were all Buda Baker, guys who were all the real culture in the building. And that's what you have to have from your players, right? So was DeAndre Hopkins anywhere near? No, in fact, word came out that he's busted for PEDs. All right. So now you're going to spend for 6 weeks. Now you got to spend the first 6 weeks without Hopkins anyway, in a year where the Super Bowl is in our building. And then he gets back to the team. And, I'll never forget that Patriots game at home. Of course, then Kyler blows out his knee, which is horrible. All right. Kyler shouldn't have been starting that game. He was late to meetings during the week, but Colt McCoy's elbow was so sore. Even Colt said, you got to start Kyler. And he blows out his knee. And in that game, pregame, Belichick's sucking up to Hopkins saying, you're the best. I know. And then, on a key play down near our goal line, we're about to score, he fumbles the ball. I mean, how about in the Super Bowl, dropping the passes in the Super Bowl? I mean, karma is a bitch, man. I mean, but then he ends that season while J.J. Watt, in his season, gets 58 quarterback pressures and 12.5 sacks, playing his utter ass off. Hopkins goes AWOL the last 2 weeks. Let's finish what we started. What a frickin' crock. And he took no player, other than Suggs, has taken the Cardinals on a ride like DeAndre Hopkins did. And here's the thing that sticks in my craw. This week I made a pledge on social media that J.J. Watt belongs in our Ring of Honor, even though he played here 2 seasons. I mean, everything that he did since the minute he joined the organization was honor. I mean, he honored every second. He inhabited that locker room. He made it his second home. He worked his tail off. He was the catalyst behind the 7-0 start. We were not the same team without him. He was a major factor in turning the team's fortunes in the direction that it went. And, and then, what was that? I mean, he even had health issues. Or wasn't it one day he was had a, huge cardiac situation going on? from
Oh, with
overtraining.
JJ Watt, yeah, it was the irregular heartbeat, and they had
Yep.
to realign his heart rate.
Right, they had to shock him. And the next day he's in practice. I mean, this is when his wife was pregnant, and he was so excited about having, his baby. And so she hadn't delivered yet. I mean, you would think the guy would take the day off. He didn't take the day off. He practiced the next day. He gave the Cardinals everything he had for 2 years. And the irony is, there are a lot of fans right now who think that DeAndre Hopkins was the best trade the Cardinals made and the best acquisition, and that the Cardinals failed DeAndre. I mean, whoa. I mean, that one still sticks in my craw. I mean, you could see it coming. I mean, again, Parcells, when a guy shows you who he is. I mean, the Texans had just lost a playoff game where they had like a 24-0 lead over the Chiefs. And the day after, and if you check DeAndre Hopkins' playoff records, he's no Larry. I mean, not even close. I mean, Larry was the best. Hopkins was a no-show in most of those playoff games. And then the next day he's going in saying, you either going to rip up my contract now or you're going to have to trade me. I mean, it's a nightmare to a team. Absolute nightmare. And that's what happened to the Cardinals. And the things they could have done differently with that, like draft CD Lamb. How about that one? There's another karma moment. Think of how CD Lamb might have totally made a difference for Kyler instead of Hopkins and his prima donna bullshit. So, yeah, there's karma, and it's all over the place. About momentum, Sam, did you see the Packers last night?
Yes.
How about momentum in that game?
Well, you got momentum because you have a terrific head coach who's a terrific play caller. And you've got a quarterback who's been coached over time, hadn't been hurried in. And you got an organization that has been one of the top organizations in the NFL history with very few steps backwards.
And it's owned by the fans.
Yeah.
And
Packers have good momentum. Their defense needs to improve. I'm surprised with Parsons in there, it hasn't improved even more. But then again, there are coaches who coach against Parsons who actually put somebody in there to help their offensive lineman keep him from wrecking the football game.
Yeah.
We don't have that.
Yeah, we didn't. And how close otherwise. So
talk about sticking in your craw. I don't think I'm ever going to get over that one.
Which one?
Watching Jonah Williams get beat without any help.
Correct.
It's beyond understanding.
It is.
And it's inexcusable.
Yep.
And
the worst play of the game was you get the completion to Michael Carter down to the 26-yard line, and they don't call timeout. And all this time is coming. It's ticking down to like 25 seconds left or whatever it was, down from 45. And then they run a play and don't spike the ball. They run a play, and it's a one-on-one for Parsons on.
Yeah.
And Parsons gets a 9-yard sack. Ball game over. You just let him ruin your whole game. You had momentum to that point. You call timeout. You got even another one left. Now with 40 seconds left, you've got 26 yards to score a touchdown, and you've got one timeout left. Instead, you whittle it down into the 20s for time-wise, and you let the team's best player go one-on-one and ruin your day. I mean, that's where coaches have to be smart. Is if you've got the momentum, you got to know how to keep it. And as an organization, it goes back to Bidwell. Every time we're good, what happens? They can't sustain it. Talk about momentum. What happens? They don't get key guys signed. I'll never forget them lowballing Kurt Warner after Warner took them to their only Super Bowl. That was one of the most egregious things I have ever seen.
Yep.
Like I would have said to Warner, write your own check.
That's right.
I mean, because you're also not only just getting what he's playing, he was coaching that team. He was the offensive coordinator. And that's how you screw things up.
That's
How
called
about the end of the BA era? How did that end? Again, with a GM who's got no, I mean, any seasoned GM would say, no. Betcher's not a replacement for Todd freaking Bowles. Betcher's been in the league 3 years. They'd also say, Amos Jones, sorry, dude. I know you love him and you're great drinking buddies, but he's not getting it done. And we're going for a Super Bowl. So I'm the GM. So I'm going to tell you right now, we're getting rid of Amos Jones. And I'm also going to tell you that James Betcher is grossly underqualified. We're going to get an experienced guy back in here. We'll even get Larry Foote back in here or something, before James Betcher. Nope.
Compared to the position staff we have now, Betcher had much more experience than what they have now in the coaching staff. So again, Bidwell and his new GM haven't learned that lesson.
Right. Exactly.
Karma.
Yep. I mean, look at the end of the Cliff thing with the Kyler debacle. I mean, it's just they can't make the right football decisions to sustain any level of success because the owner doesn't have that instinct. I think of any owner I've ever seen, he has zero sense of how to think things will come down after these decisions he makes.
That's why he shouldn't be making them.
Right. And your plan, that's the best moment of today for me, is to hear that. And we'll go back to Maddie. Maddie, hang tight because, Sam's got a plan. And this is part of the thing we're starting to put together of what the Cardinals really need. And that's going to be a major factor in it. And we've run out of time, but and we didn't get to the trades things, but I do want to do this quickly. With our own trade candidates is Kyle, can you put up the lists I made of our own trade candidates? And we're going to make this quick. And then the trade targets that I thought might make sense.
I got it up here. Let me.
So Kyler Murray. Serious trade candidate, Kyle?
Not at the deadline. I would say no.
Okay.
It's just too complicated to try and make a trade happen.
Right. Sam, Kyler Murray, trade candidate?
No way.
Okay. Buda Baker, Sam?
Yes.
He might head to your Broncos.
No, they're in pretty good shape at safety, but
they are.
Yeah.
I saw yesterday.
The issue with Buda is he's one of the highest paid safeties, significant dead money due to the signing bonus, and if post June they'd allow him to spread the cap, save him over $7.5 million in 25.
Okay. Kyle, Buda.
I've said this for years, and it's the same point. Buda gets what Buda wants. If Buda wants a trade, Buda gets a trade. If Buda wants to stay, Buda gets to stay. Whatever he wants to do is what the Cardinals should oblige. It's less about getting equal, I say equal, quote unquote, trade value. I mean, you don't have to give him away for nothing, but it's less about winning that trade as it is treating your franchise cornerstones with respect. Because in the long run, that's going to matter a lot more than getting an extra round on your draft pick. Also, the Broncos are pretty set at safety because they've got my guy, JL Skinner from Point Loma High School, who
Oh
was
boy.
my classmate. So they're
Wow,
definitely
all
set
right.
at that safety position.
And
Yeah.
Hufanga's been playing unbelievable for them.
Yep.
You finally,
Both of
yeah,
them playing great.
he has been playing great for them. That's true. All right. I'll handle Calais. I think out of respect to him, he's probably going to be so loyal that it won't even be a question. But if the team went to him and said, "Hey, listen, the Packers have just called and they, or the Colts or whomever, and they're making a pitch for you. Is that something would intrigue you and interest you?" And if he said yes, I'd honor his wishes out of respect for him, because this is clearly his swan song in football. And if he wants to try to win a ring this year, it's not going to happen in Arizona, but it could happen somewhere else. So I'd let him go. Jalen Thompson. Sam?
Well, it incurred substantial dead cap charge, but they could get a mid to late round pick for him.
Yeah.
Again, you've got a June 1st trade that would allow them to spread the dead cap. But
actually, his contract is up now. So, yeah. So with him, it makes sense because to get something now, because you're not going to get anything for him later, because he's in the last year of that deal.
what do you think about getting a mid to late round pick for him? Doable?
I think it would make sense.
Yeah.
He's playing really good football right now.
Yes, it is.
But we do have depth at safety. And, you got to develop Rabbit.
Yeah.
And Rabbit's struggling right now. We got to get him back in, playing well. He's a key. So, yeah, it's voided for a UFA.
Yeah, this is essentially the last year of the deal, UFA.
Right.
I guess then the answer to my question is just, do you want to bring him back? Because if you don't want to bring him back, then
no, you can't afford it. Can't afford it. You're already paying Buddha big money.
Yeah.
You're gonna have Jadrian Taylor-Damerson playing in that spot. You got Keaton Crawford, who looks like a total keeper. You got Joey Blunt coming back. No, you're good at the safety position.
Yeah, then if that's the case, then you just got to make the calculation of what's more valuable, what you're getting now or a potential compensatory pick in free agency.
Yep.
Which
so I think of all of them, probably the one other than Kyler, who I think makes the most sense to try to trade right now, would be JT. And kudos to him for playing well and putting himself in that position. What about Zaven Collins? Kyle?
Again, it depends what you get for him. And if you want to go back to the well of trying to find edge rushers, I mean, I know they have Sweat, and Sweat's under contract for a while, so it's not that hard to try and find someone, but it's not like they have Gardeck waiting in the wing like they did before. I mean, if you trade Zaven Collins, it's maybe Baron Browning. It's, kind of mixing and matching guys. So it just depends what you get for them. I think, though, if you're going to trade on the defensive line, I think the one you should look to move is Dalvin Tomlinson. I think a lot of teams are looking for defensive tackle help. So I guess I would be more interested in moving Dalvin Tomlinson than I would be moving Zaven Collins. Like Buffalo, they can't stop the run, so they would be perfect to go get like a Dalvin Tomlinson.
How about Justin Jones?
I think you could give him away.
Who?
Justin Jones.
Oh, is he a relative of Bilal Nichols?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't want to rehash that, but as soon as those signings happened, I knew that was not going to work out. But they had to spend some money,
right? So, NS Card, you want to know something about karma? Here's what karma would happen: is somebody trades for Zaven Collins, says no, we're putting him at Mike, and he kicks ass like he was born to do at that position. And yet, with our coaching staff, they don't play him there. I mean, he's been good on the edge, setting it. He's been good defending the run. He got the one sack, on a power move, backing his man into, Jordan Love. So, I mean, he is the most, I think, underutilized player on the defense. I mean, he's got skills that, if you go back and watch his Tulsa tapes, that dude is amazing in pass coverage. He even won a game on a pick six, in a key situation that went like 90 yards on a return. But totally undervalued and underused. And I think by far he'd be the best Mike on our current roster, but it's never going to happen. Although they did experiment with him there a little bit in the preseason, which was interesting. But whoever trades for him and put him in the middle, and suddenly, he's going to be like the, Devondre Campbell Pro Bowler who was not so good here and then goes to the Packers and is a Pro Bowler for 2 years in a row. Actually, he was all pro his first year with the Packers. All right, let's go quickly to this list of targets, potential targets. I'll explain why I put him on there. Well, Breece Hall's been talked about for weeks now. I don't think it happens after yesterday, after his heroics. I think Jets fans would be bullshit if it did. So I'm just not even going to open that up for discussion. But boy, what a player, and what a dynamic, multi-talented player he is. He'd be an amazing addition. McCreary makes sense to play in the slot, particularly if you trade JT, who's been playing in the slot. Any thought on McCreary from you guys? Do you like him?
Yeah, I like him. If you took that whole list, they're not going to make any trades. They're not going to bring in anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I like the player, but unless you're trading for someone's disgruntled former pick who has multiple years left on their deal, I don't think they're trading for any of these guys.
Right.
I don't either.
Okay. Well, then what about Jaquan McMillian? He's one of your guys.
Yeah, I'd take a pass.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Because?
I don't think he's that big of an improvement over our guys who are injured. I think he'd be a rental only. I think our two guys, cornerbacks who are injured, I think have as much, if not more talent than he.
Okay. What's interesting is, I saw he was an honorable mention by ESPN, so I looked him up. He has the fourth highest defensive grade on the Broncos, which is in the 70s.
He'll be a restricted free agent at the end of the year if you want to make a play. That might be the reason to make a play for him, is that you theoretically can re-sign him at a discounted rate as a restricted free agent.
They tried to trade him in the offseason and they didn't get any takers.
Oh, see, there you go. All right. Well, he's making a case for himself. Yeah. And maybe he's out there. Chris Olave.
Ooh, I like him.
Me too.
I like him.
Mission Bay High School in San Diego, but I think someone else will pay more, would be my guess, for Chris Olave.
Yeah, and I'm wondering now that Kellen Moore is going to go to Tyler Sloth at quarterback, whether it'll limit Sloth's potential by trading away Olave. Olave has said he wants to stay in New Orleans. So, but he's being dangled out there by pundits. And the two guys that made a lot of sense to me, and I just picked them out of the hat, were Braxton Jones, who is like a swing tackle in Chicago, who's actually really athletic and probably an upgrade at right tackle for us. And then Pete Werner, the Ohio State inside linebacker. I've always liked him, and I think he's a better fit for us than Mac Wilson. But I agree with you guys. I mean, know if we're going to see the Cardinals add, and we may not even see them subtract. It might just be play Monday Night Football and then, crickets. Who knows? But
or maybe it'll be something small like last year where it's Baron Browning for a 6th round pick and that's all they do. Maybe it's, I said Dalvin Tomlinson. Maybe it's Dalvin Tomlinson for a late round pick swap or something. Like it's just something really small.
Boy, that would be an admission of defeat. So you'd add him to Bilal Nichols, Justin Jones, Walter Nolan, who nobody's seen yet. Apparently has a plan to come back now. I mean, what's going on the defensive interior is just...
Throw B.J. Ojolari in there if you want to.
Who?
BJ.
Who? What? It's amazing how certain players disappear under this regime. Like Elijah Jones last year. I'm sure he wasn't that hurt. But they just decided, we'll make this a red shirt year for Elijah Jones because we have so many other cornerbacks. We're drafting 3 every draft. So, let's just let this slide for this year. But though, in the offseason, let's draft 2 more. And so now it complicates everything. Elijah Jones not playing on this team this year is criminal. It's a dereliction. I mean, the guy... I tell you this right now. I've studied them all. I saw every game that Elijah Moore played at Boston College. He is the best man cover on this team.
Tough kid.
And he's a tough kid, and he'll hit you. Save for, I think he's a little different from Max Melton, who's, I think, the best slot corner that we have talent-wise. But I think for boundary corner, Jones can take care of, all types. The bigger guys, like you'll see with, Pickens. He can handle Pickens. And then I think he can handle CeeDee Lamb. But he's inactive. They won't even play him. It's just unbelievable. It's just, I don't know what goes on. I think it's going to be interesting to see. Again, they got this tight window after the game. So you got to, play on the road, fly back. Then you got, phone calls, trade, potentials maybe. And the whole thing might just sort of end up to be a big nothing burger. And a huge part is this game where we saw a vulnerable Cowboys team, on defense. And I think, the way Jacoby has been passing the ball, we'll have a better chance to win with him by far than with Kyler. Now, Kyler can do some of the other stuff that Jacoby doesn't do and be scrambling around doing and bolting. But I think I saw, and I think Sam will attest to this. I saw a very weak secondary that Bo Nix was picking apart. If we get a good passing attack going against them, I think we can hang with their offense and maybe even nip them out at the end. Sam, you obviously saw this yesterday. I mean, how important is it going to be for the Cardinals to pass the ball to beat Dallas?
It's going to be critical. And it's going to be even more critical because, I said it after the Titans loss, that next game is going to be the season. Well, that's what happens when teams don't compete. Every game becomes the season. But after the bye, we need to see a win.
Right.
And we need to see a win with Kyler as the quarterback. This team in the fourth quarter's moniker is you can't finish a drive and you can't stop a drive. And the coaching staff needs to fix that, and we need to see that. We need to see competence from this staff for the rest of the season if they have any prospect of keeping their jobs. I'm just talking competence.
Yeah. Well, I have a little different thought on this because I feel like we're in the same boat as we were in 2021 when Colt McCoy had won the affections of the offensive players. He just calmed the whole thing down, and they were playing so well, and Colt, had 2 commanding wins against NFC West teams on the road. If we don't win those games, we're not even in the playoffs that year, as it turned out. And they turned it back over to Kyler, and Kyler struggled big time post-injury. I think we have a similar scenario here, is that, the players have really gravitated towards Jacoby and his leadership style. Plus, he's opened up a receiving unit that was considered the worst in the NFL and suddenly made him look very competent. I mean, Zay Jones has 146 yards in 2 games. Zay Jones. Before, he would get 1 target and maybe, and then McBride has 146 and 3 touchdowns, which is 2 more than he had with Kyler all of last year. What are you going to say?
I agree with you, and who could disagree? But I think if this Dallas game, Kyler Murray does not come out and play great football, and they need to win this game. And if they do not, I don't think there's anybody's going to question them putting in Jacoby for the rest of the season and washing their hands of Kyler Murray.
Right.
And I think that'll be the end of the Kyler Murray experiment. And I don't think there'll be anybody who can question it. And the next question will be, they're going to put in Jacoby Brissett to try to save their jobs.
Right.
So
I feel like I'm a week ahead of that, saying, like, I think the one who gives them the best chance, particularly since the locker room really likes Jacoby. I think the players are going to be bummed to go back to Kyler. But who knows? I mean, maybe Kyler fires everybody up. Maybe. Here's the thing, though, that really is interesting to me, and then we'll end on this. Kurt Warner was saying on social media, he's been interviewed quite a bit about the Cardinals.
Yeah.
He's saying like what you're saying. He's saying, like, look, you got to use these last 10 games to know if Kyler Murray's really your guy or not. And I'm surprised that Warner, he's also said that Brissett was clearly better in the past game than Kyler. So I'm just, after we're in year 7, right? And we're, got 10 games left, and we still don't know whether Kyler is the guy. I mean, I can tell everybody, Kyler Murray's not going to change his stripes. Not here. If he gets with a coach that he halfway respects, maybe. But even then, I don't know if any coach can coach the fear out of him. And I think that, if the quarterbacks that are that antsy typically and that panicky typically don't hold up in the NFL. And otherwise, he's brilliant in so many different ways. He does. And at times, he plays with, tremendous effort and confidence. But at others, when you need him most, he's skittish and turnover prone. So, I think the jury's already out. But I'm wide open. I mean, if what you're saying is right, and Tyler comes in and somehow, finds a new, sort of rocket booster in his approach and finds it in Dallas, which would be symbolic. That'd be great. And maybe, carries it over and can take it through. We also have the stats, the November, December, January stats that are mind-boggling. You know, I mean, in September he's 9-11-1. October is always his best month, although it's not been kind to him this year. 15-9, and then the drop off. November 4-10. I mean, November 4-10. December 8-15. I mean, these aren't even .33 percentages. And then January is 2 for 3, 2 and 3. You know, including that win he had last year against the 49ers. You know, a blowout win when at the end of the season. He was 1-3 before that. I mean, is he going to be able to turn all that aside and suddenly be the finisher that quarterbacks need to be down the stretch when games matter the most? The data we have suggests it's not going to happen. But, you know, we do still have him, and you're right. You know, if you're going to, there's one way to find out. It's put him back in there. But it's also could be at the cost of already alienating a locker room that's pretty damn frustrated with the coaching right now. And Gannon said during the week, no, we haven't made up our, you know, there's a lot still to figure out. So maybe there are, you know, and he meant it too with Kyler's health. We're not sure exactly until we see him out there. But it's certainly going to make for an interesting week. And just gauge it during practice. And, Kyle, closing thought?
Well, as it relates to the Cowboys game, I would say the Cowboys have kind of been the team to make your wishes come true this year in terms of seeing a prolific passing attack. So maybe there's no better opponent. I mean, they gave up 300 yards to Russell Wilson, Caleb Williams, who's been struggling at times this year. He had 330 yards. Bryce Young had 3 touchdowns and an interception against the Cowboys. You saw Bo Nix looked like a quarterback. He was making throws we think of are not Bo Nix type of throws against that Dallas defense. So if you want prolific passing attack, this might be your best chance to do it with Kyler, if he plays, going to the stadium he's never lost before, which,
right,
to your point, maybe it'd be symbolism if he finally did lose at that stadium in this game where, you know, everyone feels like he's playing for his job from this point forward and they could make the change at any point coming up. So we'll see how that goes. In terms of the final thoughts on our conversation today, there was one point when you were talking about what I believe it was NS Card talking about how what's it going to take to turn it around kind of situation, and or to restore faith in the coaching staff. But right now, currently their odds to make the playoffs are 13-1 in the NFC. The only teams with worse odds are the Giants and the Saints, and they're tied with the Vikings in terms of 13-1 right now. So if they want to turn this thing around, they might have to make the playoffs or at least get into the playoff chase, which seems far-fetched given we mentioned their schedule. I think that was 2 weeks ago at the end of the show, but they've got Cowboys, Seahawks, home against the Niners, home against the Jaguars, at the Bucks, Rams, Texans, who just blasted the 49ers, Falcons, Bengals, and Rams to end the season. It's looking long and mighty, but they can win against Dallas and at least move it sort of in the right direction. So I think if ever you want to see prolific passing attack from a Cardinals offense, this might be the team to do it next week.
Oh, the coincidence, you know, I mean, missing the Colts and Packers pass rushes coming back for the Cowboys. Oh, the coincidence. Sam, finish it up.
Well, Cardinals need to win a football game. No bigger football game to win than the one after the bye. And that's what needs to happen. We need to see competence from this coaching staff for the rest of the year. I don't see a lot of wins. As Kyle mentioned, they've got beyond a long shot, especially in this division, to make the playoffs. The rest of the schedule is the second toughest in the league. So I don't expect a lot of wins, but I expect a competitive football team in the fourth quarter and some coaching competence.
All right. Well, we'll check back here a week from tomorrow on a Tuesday morning. Thanks, as always, to Kyle Little Rock and to Since 61 Sam. This has been a really interesting conversation. I think we covered a wide range of topics and with, a diverse set of expectations and opinions. And to all of you who've been following us, the numbers are really growing, and really appreciating your support. And Red Rain Blog, we got close to 400 hits on yesterday's article, or on the article about Drew Petzing. So, thanks to all of you who contributed there. I think we have over 35 comments. We're really enjoying our interactions with all of you. And so in the interim, may the red rain shower down on you. Into the red sea. Red rain.